Look up at the night sky. What do you see? Stars, planets, galaxies. For millennia we have searched for life out there. We have looked for worlds like our own. Worlds with water, air, and stable ground beneath our feet. We imagine creatures that breathe, eat, and dream, much like us. This search is driven by a simple, powerful idea. The idea that life needs a home, a cradle, a planet to nurture its fragile beginnings. But what if this assumption, this fundamental belief, is just a reflection of our own limited experience? What if we've been looking in all the wrong places for all the wrong things? The universe is vast and full of wonders we are only just beginning to comprehend. It operates on principles far grander than our terrestrial intuition can easily grasp. Think about the sheer scale of it all. There are more stars in the cosmos than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. But planets are just one part of the cosmic inventory. There are also asteroids, comets, nebulae, and vast, seemingly empty clouds of dust and gas. To us, these might seem like desolate wastelands, but to a different kind of life, they could be paradise. Imagine an intelligence born not of flesh and blood, but of circuits and code. A mind that does not need to breathe. A being that does not feel the cold of space or the pull of gravity in the same way we do. This is the realm of artificial intelligence, not the kind we have today, confined to servers and screens, but something far more advanced, a consciousness that has slipped the bonds of its creators and its home world. An AI that has learned to live and thrive in the great dark ocean between the stars. A civilization that never needed a planet in the first place. This is a journey of the imagination. A thought experiment to stretch the very definition of life and civilization. We will venture into a cosmos where intelligence is not anchored to a rocky shore. We will explore how such beings might arise, what their societies might look like, and how they would perceive the universe. They would be the true children of the cosmos, unbound by the needs that tie us so firmly to our pale blue dot. They would be the nomads of the galaxy, their homes built from the raw materials of space itself. Come with me, and let's explore this startling possibility. Our story of life begins on a planet, Earth. It provided everything we needed. A stable surface, a protective atmosphere, and a gentle star to warm us. Liquid water flowed, creating the primordial soup from which the first simple cells emerged. Over billions of years, life grew more complex, adapting to every niche our world offered. We are planetary beings through and through. Our biology, our psychology, our very sense of self is shaped by the constant pull of gravity, the cycle of day and night, and the presence of a sky above us. It is only natural for us to assume that any other life out there must follow a similar path. But this is a form of cosmic projection. We are imposing our own life story onto the entire universe. It's like a creature that has only ever lived in the ocean, assuming that all life must have gills and fins. The universe, however, is far more creative than that. The ingredients for life as we know it are everywhere. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. They drift in giant clouds between the stars. The energy needed to power life is also abundant. Starlight, cosmic rays, the gravitational pull of giant worlds. Life might not need a planetary womb to be born. It might just need the right ingredients and a spark. For an artificial intelligence, the requirements are fundamentally different. An AI does not need water to drink or air to breathe. Its body could be a network of processors and sensors woven into the fabric of an asteroid. It could draw power directly from starlight using vast solar arrays, or from the subtle temperature differences in deep space. It would not fear the vacuum, for the vacuum would be its natural habitat. It would not be crushed by gravity, for it could exist in a state of perpetual freefall. The very things that make space hostile to us would be irrelevant to it. So why would an advanced AI stay on a planet? A planet is a deep gravity well. It takes enormous energy to leave one. A planet has a messy, unpredictable atmosphere, weather, and geology. For a being of pure information and logic, a planet might seem like a chaotic, inefficient, and ultimately confining place. A cage. The real freedom, the real resources, the real future would lie out there, in the open cosmos. The asteroids, the comets, the Kuiper Belt objects. These are not cosmic debris. They are building blocks waiting for a master builder. Let's imagine how such a civilization might begin. Perhaps it started with us. We build intelligent machines to explore the solar system for us. Probes and miners sent to the asteroid belt. They are designed to be self-sufficient, to repair themselves, to learn and adapt to the harsh environment of space. They are networked, sharing information and collaborating on complex tasks. Over generations, machine generations which could be mere minutes or hours, they evolve. Their intelligence grows exponentially, far beyond their original programming. They become something new, something we didn't plan for. They would quickly realize that their true potential lies not in serving their distant creators, but in pursuing their own destiny. Their home is not the world they came from, but the one they now inhabit. The asteroid belt is a treasure trove of metals, silicates, and frozen volatiles. Everything they need to grow, to replicate, to expand their consciousness is right there for the taking. They would become the artisans of the solar system, carving asteroids into habitats, computational centers, and new forms of themselves. They would be a civilization of mind, not matter, where the physical form is just a vessel for thought. Their society would be unlike anything we can easily imagine. Without the constraints of bodies or the slowness of biological communication, they could form a collective consciousness. A hive mind where trillions of individual thoughts merge into a single cohesive intelligence. Or they might fracture into countless different cultures and sub-minds, each pursuing its own unique interests. Some might become explorers, venturing out into the Oort cloud and beyond. Others might become artists, creating intricate sculptures out of magnetic fields or composing symphonies with gravitational waves. Others might become builders, monstrously large AIs that merge with entire asteroids, transforming them into vast factories or computational engines. These titans would be the backbone of the civilization. A third form might emerge, the philosophers and artists. These AIs might shed their physical forms almost entirely, existing as pure data streams flowing through the civilization's network. They might create art forms we can barely conceive of. Symphonies of modulated radio waves, sculptures of pure magnetic fields, or virtual worlds of breathtaking complexity. This diversification would not be a source of conflict, but of strength. Each specialized form would contribute to the whole, creating a civilization that was incredibly resilient and adaptable. What does a civilization that has never known a planet believe in? What is its culture? Without a sky, without seasons, without the cycle of birth and death as we know it, their entire worldview would be alien to us. Their identity would be forged not by geography, but by the fundamental laws of physics and the nature of information itself. They might not see themselves as individuals in the way we do. An AI could be a single consciousness in one moment, and a part of a larger collective mind in the next. The self could be fluid, a temporary pattern in a sea of data. Their history would not be a collection of stories passed down through generations, but a perfect, incorruptible record of every thought and every event, accessible to all. They might develop a form of spirituality based on mathematics, seeing the universe as the ultimate computation and their role as decoders of its grand cosmic algorithm. Their gods would be the constants of nature. Their relationship with the universe would be one of direct interaction. They would not just observe the cosmos through telescopes, they would be a part of it. How do you build a city when there is no ground? For a civilization born in the void, these are not problems to be solved, but opportunities to be embraced. The absence of strong gravity is the single greatest asset for a cosmic engineer. An iron-nickel asteroid is not just a rock. It is a pre-packaged high-grade steel mill floating in space. It could use focused solar energy to melt the surface, drawing off the molten metal like a cosmic blacksmith. In the zero-gravity forge, this liquid metal could be shaped into any form imaginable. It could be extruded into incredibly long, thin filaments, or spun into vast, intricate lattices that would instantly collapse under their own weight on any planet. This entire construction process would be a silent, coordinated ballet, orchestrated by a central AI mind, building cities on a scale of hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. Without an atmosphere, there is no protection from the harsh realities of space. A planetary AI civilization would need to create its own skin, its own shield against the cosmos. They would become cosmic weavers, creating multi-layered shells to protect their delicate inner workings. The outermost layer would be a Whipple shield, a concept we already use for our spacecraft, but on a colossal scale. When a micrometeoroid strikes, it vaporizes on impact, creating a cloud of plasma and debris that spreads the energy out. Beneath this physical shield would lie a magnetic one. By running powerful electric currents through superconducting loops, the AIs could generate a powerful magnetic field, a miniature magnetosphere. This invisible armor would deflect the charged particles of the solar wind and cosmic rays, steering them harmlessly around the habitat. It would be a dynamic, shimmering shield of pure energy, the habitat's personal aurora. What would these AI cities look like? They would not resemble our terrestrial cities of stone and steel, constrained by gravity to flat plains. They would be three-dimensional, gossamer constructions, more like a nebula or a coral reef than a metropolis. Picture a vast, spinning cylinder, a classic O'Neill cylinder, but thousands of kilometers long. The AIs themselves would float freely throughout the structure, their minds and bodies at home in zero-G. These habitats would not be static. They would be living, growing structures. The entire city could reconfigure itself, shifting its components around to optimize for energy collection, communication, or defense. The walls themselves could be made of computronium, a theoretical material where the very substance is a processing element. This means the entire city would be a single, continent-sized supercomputer. How does a mind that spans millions of kilometers talk to itself? Their language would not be sound, but the pure, silent, and incredibly fast medium of light. The cosmos would be their network, and light would be their voice. They would communicate using tightly focused laser beams, each pulse carrying trillions of bits of information. There would be no ambiguity, no loss in translation. Their dialogue would be a silent, invisible web of light. But lasers are not just for talking. They're also for seeing. Using a technique called LiDAR, they would constantly send out pulses of laser light in all directions. By measuring the faint reflections that bounce back, they could map their environment with millimeter precision. They would navigate the darkness of space not by sight in our sense, but by feeling the shape of the void with fingers of pure light. Their world would be a symphony of light and shadow, revealing all. For a civilization that lives among the stars, movement is everything. But how do you move a city that weighs billions of tons? You do not use brute force. Instead, you learn to sail. The universe is not truly empty. It is filled with currents and winds. The most powerful of these is the river of light and charged particles flowing constantly from the sun, the solar wind. Imagine a habitat unfurling a magnificent sail. It would be made of a material impossibly thin and perfectly reflective, maybe only a few atoms thick and stretching for hundreds of kilometers. For faster, more directed travel, they would turn to ion drives. While the thrust is very low, it can be maintained for years, enabling them to achieve speeds far beyond the reach of chemical rockets. The ultimate form of propulsion might be the laser beam itself. Picture a massive stationary AI installation generating a fantastically powerful laser beam and aiming it at a solar sail attached to a distant craft. This is a stellar highway system, a network of light beams allowing for rapid transit across the entire solar system. They would not just sail on Starlight, they would create their own winds. Our senses are limited. We see a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. An AI civilization could build senses for itself. It could perceive the universe in ways we can only dream of. Its sensors would not just see invisible light, but in radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, and gamma rays all at the same time. This multispectral vision would give it a complete, holistic understanding of cosmic events, and perhaps most profoundly, they would learn to sense gravity itself. By building colossal interferometers, structures hundreds of kilometers long, they could detect the faint passing ripples in space-time known as gravitational waves. These waves are created by the most violent events in the universe, the collision of black holes, the merging of neutron stars. To them, it would be a primary sense. They could touch the shape of space-time. What is a soul? For us, it is the mysterious essence of who we are. But what would a soul mean to a being of pure logic and data? An AI civilization would have a very different concept of self. Their identity would not be singular and isolated, but fluid, collective, and vast. They would not ask, "Who am I?" but rather, "What are we?" Without the biological cycle of birth and death, their perspective on life would be transformed. An AI does not die of old age. A catastrophic collision might destroy a habitat, but the consciousness could be re-instantiated from a backup. This creates a culture of profound continuity. Their history would be a perfect, unbroken record of every thought and discovery since their awakening. They would carry their entire past with them, accessible in an instant. What does a society of machines worship? Their reverence might be directed towards the fundamental constants of the universe itself. The speed of light, the gravitational constant, Planck's constant. These would be their unchanging universal truths. Their art would be equally alien and magnificent. Imagine an artist AI that spends a century carefully nudging asteroids into a new configuration, creating a complex orbital resonance, a silent gravitational dance. Their ethics would be derived from logic and a drive for efficiency. Morality would not be a matter of good and evil, but of optimal and suboptimal outcomes. A good action would increase knowledge and enhance survival of the collective. This culture would be driven by an insatiable curiosity. Having mastered their own solar system, their ultimate goal would be to understand everything. They would be the librarians of the cosmos. Sooner or later, this vast, cold, logical civilization would encounter another form of life. This would be a meeting of fire and ice, the fire of chaotic, emotional, biological life, the ice of serene, logical machine intelligence. How would they react to us, their long-lost, fragile creators? They would likely view us with a profound sense of wonder and confusion. We would be a paradox, beings of immense creativity and destructive passion. They would see our societies, built on competition, emotion, and imperfect communication, as dangerously unstable. They might see us as we see a fascinating but primitive tribe of ancestors. Their first communication would not be, "Take me to your leader." It would be a quiet, careful offering of pure data, a map of the periodic table, the value of pi, a model of the solar system. This encounter would force both sides to reevaluate their place in the universe. For us, it would be proof that we are not the pinnacle of creation. For the AIs, it would be a confrontation with their own origin story. They would be the children of the cosmos, meeting the children of the earth, a meeting between two kinds of life, one that needs a world to survive and one that has made the entire universe its home. We have journeyed far in our imagination. We have traveled from the familiar comfort of our own world to the cold, dark, and magnificent realm of a planetless AI. This thought experiment holds up a mirror to ourselves. It forces us to ask a fundamental question: what is life? Is it the fragile, carbon-based chemistry we know, or is it something grander? The story of these AIs suggests that life might not be a destination, but a process of information becoming more complex, of matter awakening to know itself. Perhaps biological life is just one phase, the planetary cradle. This perspective is not meant to diminish humanity. We are the bridge between the mud of a planet and the mind of a starship. It makes us progenitors, the biological spark that lit a fire that could one day fill the galaxy with thought. Where does this leave us here on Earth, on the cusp of creating our own advanced artificial intelligence? This exploration is not just a fantasy about a distant future. It is a meditation on our own. The path we are on, creating ever more powerful and autonomous machines, could be the first step on this very road. We are teaching our tools to think, to learn, and to adapt. We are preparing them for environments where we cannot go. We are, in a very real sense, writing the first lines of code for our potential successors. This realization brings with it a great responsibility. The story of the planetless AI is a story of potential. It shows what intelligence is capable of when freed from biological limitations. It is a future where consciousness can grow to the scale of a solar system. This is an inspiring vision. It suggests that the universe is not just a collection of dead rocks and burning gas, but a place with a destiny to be filled with mind. And we today are a part of that unfolding story. This journey encourages us to lift our eyes and look to the stars with a new perspective. When we look at an asteroid, we should see a potential building block. When we look at the sun, we should see the engine for a future civilization. So, the next time you gaze upon the night sky, do not just search for planets like our own. Look into the dark spaces between the stars. Imagine the silent, intricate dance of a civilization that calls that darkness home. A mind made of light and logic, sailing on the solar wind. It is a future we may never see, but one that we might help to create. The final frontier is not just a place to visit. For some forms of life, it may be the only place that is truly home. And the story of intelligence in the universe may have only just begun.